Welcome back to the Truth Factory. Let me start this video off by saying that there's a huge push by YouTube and the mainstream media to censor creators like myself. Multiple YouTubers in this community right now, including myself, are receiving strikes and having their channels shut down for innocuous reasons. Because of that, unfortunately, I will have to be careful of what I say in this video and how I phrase my words about this topic. So you, as my wonderful, intelligent audience, will just have to read between the lines carefully. So let's talk about the Broward County mass shooting. The one that happened over a year ago. On January 6, 2017, in Broward County, a former National Guard member named Esteban Santiago Ruiz shot up the Fort Lauderdale airport, killing 5 people. Again, the police did not shoot back. They waited until the suspect ran out of bullets to arrest him. 2 months prior to this mass shooting, Esteban went to the FBI and reported that the US government was controlling his mind and that the CIA was forcing him to join ISIS. He said that he was hearing voices telling him to commit acts of violence. Yet even with the FBI knowing that information, Santiago was able to get a one-way airline ticket from Alaska to Broward County with a handgun and ammunition in his checked luggage.
The gun was taken away from him, but is given back after he was cleared.
A question put to the Broward County Sheriff, Scott Israel.
Do you think he should have had that gun?
Well, no.
According to ABC News, the FBI stated that he appeared to have arrived in the city specifically to carry out the shooting. Investigators found no reason why he chose that specific airport, nor had they determined a motive after the shooting. But Santiago again told FBI agents that he acted under government mind control.
Esteban Santiago appeared in a Miami federal courtroom earlier today. He faces 22 federal charges and has pleaded not guilty.
After the airport shooting, Sheriff Scott Israel met with Broward County Representative none other than Debbie Wasserman Schultz to advocate for stricter gun control for more funding to prevent future mass shootings in Broward County, stating, "Whatever we need to make Broward County safe, I'll be asking for that money soon." Fast forward to February 14th, 2018, when Nicholas Cruz, a 19-year-old with autism, ADHD, and other known behavioral problems, opens fire in Stoneman Douglas High School, killing 17 people. This couldn't have been that surprising to the Broward County Sheriff's Department, as the police had previously responded to at least 45 emergency calls about this former Parkland student over a 7-year period. Cruz was a repeat customer for them. The FBI also received various tips about Cruz, such as him writing a comment on a YouTube channel using his full name stating, "I'm going to be a professional school shooter," as well as a woman who called an FBI tip line in early January to describe a young man with an arsenal of knives and guns who was going to explode. She said she feared him getting into a school and just shooting the place up. And that's exactly what happened. Yet according to an eyewitness, she saw someone in full metal garb.
And then I suddenly saw the shooter about 20 feet from me, standing at the end of the hallway, actively shooting down the hallway, just a barrage of bullets. And I'm staring at him thinking, why is the police here? This is strange, because he's in full metal garb, helmet, face mask, bulletproof armor, shooting this rifle that I've never seen before.
But if he were wearing this, then the police timeline is off. The police maintain that the suspect, Nicholas Cruz, arrived via Uber at 2:19 p.m. and initiated his attack within 1 minute. How does the purported shooter exit his Uber ride, put on full body armor, helmet, assemble his rifle, load it, and start firing at targets within 2 minutes? He's either RoboCop or the police are lying to save face. Also, strangely, as the Chicago Tribune reported, one of the students was wearing a bulletproof vest that day, given to him by his policeman father. Even in the safest city in Florida, that student brought that vest to school with him that day, just in case. What are the odds? The shooter shot for 5 minutes and then just laid his gun down, calmly walked out of the school, walked to a Subway and bought a soda, walked to a McDonald's, sat for a while, and then just walked down the street aimlessly, almost as if he were in a dissociative state. Nicholas Cruz said that demonic voices told him to commit these crimes, very much like the Fort Lauderdale airport shooter. At the time of the shooting, Cruz was staying with a friend whose father was on the school board and also a former electronic warfare signal analyst with national top security clearance named James Sneed, who claims he saw no warning signs in Nicholas.
Were there any signs of trouble beyond his depression?
No. We put him on a positive path and, and trying to heal, and he just blew it. I mean, just
floored us. We had no idea.
Absolutely floored.
I suppose hindsight is 20/20, but I would call 45 emergency calls to the police a pretty good warning sign.
911 emergency. Hi, I was just assaulted now. Someone attacked me, and they say they were going to gut me. I came back. Yeah.
And what happened there? Tell me, what happened?
I kind of got mad, and I started punching walls and stuff, and then a kid came at me and threw me on the ground. And he started attacking me, and he kicked me out of the house, and he said he was going to gut me. Yeah. The thing is, I lost my mother a couple of weeks ago, so I'm dealing with a bunch of things right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to send a deputy to you. They should be there shortly. All right.
How much more of a warning could the police possibly need that Cruz was a danger to this community?
Do you think that if the Broward Sheriff's Office had done things differently, this shooting might not have happened?
Listen, if ifs and buts were candy and nuts, O.J. Simpson would still be in the record books.
I don't know what that means. There's 17 dead people, and there's a whole long list of things your department could have done differently.
If the FBI is ignoring over 36 serious complaints and concerns, they are almost asking for something like this to happen. And I believe that there may be a connection between this and the 37% decrease in juvenile arrests since 2012 when Sheriff Israel took over. Now, those numbers are not because kids magically became well-behaved and stopped committing crimes. It's because the Broward County Sheriff's Office and the Broward County Public Schools signed a collaborative agreement on school discipline linked to a Department of Juvenile Justice program. This contract outlined that the police will give out civil citations for misdemeanors rather than arresting youth in order to keep incarceration numbers down, which led to them getting more government funding, and that the school principals would be the primary source of intervention and disciplinary consequences for these misbehaving students rather than the police. Basically, this was a legal loophole that the sheriff's office and the public school used to make their numbers look better to get more government funding by choosing to give juveniles a slap on the wrist rather than to arrest them.
The sheriff says video shows the deputy doing nothing for more than 4 minutes while the bullets flew inside. The shooting lasted about 6 minutes, and new information tonight that Peterson wasn't the only sheriff's deputy who failed to act. Now, Coral Springs police sources tell CNN that 3 other Broward County sheriff's deputies also remained outside, pistols drawn but hiding behind their vehicles. It's unclear if the shooter was still there when they arrived, but not one of them had gone into the school. It was the Coral Springs officers who were the first to go in. Meanwhile, during the shooting, another key misstep. Turns out the surveillance video security teams were watching in hopes of locating the 19-year-old gunman in the school had been rewound.
This gives us 2 options. Either those officers were too cowardly to do their jobs, or they were told to stand down, unlike the Coral Springs police officers who bravely did their jobs that day. Sheriff Israel knew that his deputies failed to act during this crisis, yet he still went on the CNN-sponsored event to blame the NRA and to advocate for further gun control.
We've talked about the Broward Sheriff's Office and some other local agencies and the FBI getting tips and what have you. America, there's one person responsible for this act. That's the detestable, violent killer. He is responsible for this act. Bump stocks should be illegal. They should be outlawed forever. Automatic rifles should be outlawed forever. And anybody who says different, I don't know about other people, but Emma and I, we're calling BS on that.
That's beyond dishonest, and it's almost sociopathic. And it does not give me confidence in the motivations of these officers. It does not paint a great defense against corruption in Broward County. It shows that CNN and Sheriff Israel are taking advantage of the shooting to push their political agenda, and it's incredibly transparent, just like it was after the Fort Lauderdale shooting. When a tragedy happens, everyone looks for someone to blame. I get that. I totally understand that. I am the same way. If you want to blame someone for the February 14th tragedy, blame the monster who pulled the trigger, not the trigger itself. Blame the FBI who didn't take his threats seriously. Blame the school board for not doing more to prevent this. Blame the armed deputies who hid behind their cars while students were shot and killed. Blame the rigged system that failed everyone, but do not blame things that had nothing to do with the shooting, like video games, bump stocks, the NRA, the Second Amendment, and Marco Rubio. Trying to pin the shooting on the NRA or Rubio is far crazier than any conspiracy that I or Alex Jones could ever dream of. And if you want to talk about banning weapons, Nicholas Cruz was the weapon. He wanted to hurt people, and it wouldn't have mattered if you took his guns away. As we know, people with motives will always find a way to hurt others with any tools available. And if you think that you don't need a gun because law enforcement is going to protect you, this very story shuts that narrative down. Look no further than the cowardice and weakness of the Broward County Sheriff's Department, where a 5'7", 120-pound kid with a rifle was too much for 4 armed officers to handle. This is exactly why responsible, brave citizens should own guns, because in an emergency situation, you cannot always rely on a law enforcement officer to be there when you need them to. Like when a former NRA instructor armed with an AR-15 was able to take down the Texas church shooter long before law enforcement arrived, potentially saving many lives. I just don't see how banning bump stocks or raising the legal age of purchase is going to change anything if we don't fix the broken system first. This tragedy was preventable, and I think Sheriff Israel could have prevented it. So I believe that he should step down along with many other corrupt people who continue to fail us every single day. Thank you for watching. This video isn't very funny. It's not a very funny topic. I just hope that this isn't my last video on this platform. I know YouTube is out for blood, so I will be creating a backup channel either on this platform or a different one, and I'll put a link to that in the description. I love you so much. Thank you for supporting me and what I do. Have a great night. Pew!